In the middle of the ocean, there's a huge floating island called MgRonald that's shaped like a cross. Everyone there knows about the demon lord Satan, a super powerful guy who rules the demon realm. His big plan was to take over the human world and turn it into a perfect home for all his dark creatures. To get things started, he sent his 4 greatest generals, Adramelech, Lucifer, Alciel, and Malakota, to conquer the 4 continents. They slaughtered innocent people without a second thought. But tough times create heroes, and a hero wielding a holy sword rose up to fight them. Her group managed to wipe out 3 of Lucifer's legions along with Adramelech and Malakota. After that, the hero led her army to invade the demon lord's castle. Inside the castle, Alciel had to fight off the hero's entire army all by himself. Someone managed to turn him to stone, but he broke free and unleashed his full power to attack. However, a cloaked man appeared who was just as strong and fought him to a standstill. Just as Alciel let his guard down, he was ambushed by the demon lord from behind. Seeing this, the hero rushed in to fight him up close. At the same time, her companions pinned down the demon lord, which let her easily slice off one of his horns. Just then, Alciel returned and blasted everyone back with a powerful attack. He yelled that the human army was too strong and the castle was about to fall. He urged his lord to retreat, so they could regroup and fight another day. Suddenly, the hero flew in to stab the demon lord, so he immediately shot up into the sky. After declaring he would return to conquer MgRonald, he and Alciel flew into a portal. Now they had been transported to the human world. Alciel was shocked to see that the demon lord had been turned into a human. When he saw a car passing by, he was about to attack it, but Satan stopped him. Suddenly, 2 police officers came over because they looked injured. This led to Alciel cursing at them, but they couldn't understand his language. The officer wanted to take them to the police station. So Alciel jumped back, ready to fight, but he realized he couldn't use his magic. He had to give up and get in the car to go to the station. When they arrived, the officer gave Satan some udon to eat. He immediately used his evil eye to analyze the food, then hypnotized the police officer to get information about this place. When he was done, he found Alciel and told his subordinate that this place was Earth. It became clear that magic demons and devils didn't exist here. Then Alciel realized they were losing their magic power, so they couldn't keep their demon forms. Satan didn't expect to be transformed like this. He guessed that either humans were the core of all life here, or the portal had messed with their powers. Although Satan tried to hold on to some magic, it was hard to stop it from fading away. As for Alciel, he had no magic power left at all. So Satan decided they needed to find a way to get their powers back. Until then, they would have to survive here. First, they went to the city office to create fake IDs and registration cards. Next, Satan used stolen money and created a seal to make a bank card. Finally, they went to a real estate agency to find a place to live. The agent took them to see a house. When they arrived, they met the landlord Mickey, who had some serious delusions of power. That evening, Satan suddenly fainted and was taken to the hospital. The cause was exhaustion because a human body needs to eat and drink. However, 1 IV drip for treatment cost the same as 1 month's rent. This made Satan realize they needed money to survive, so when they returned home, they immediately wrote resumes to look for jobs. Sometime later, when Satan was living a little too well, Alciel told him to be more frugal. But Satan insisted that buying a fridge, a washing machine, and a bicycle was totally necessary. Alciel wanted them to pay in installments, but Satan didn't like that idea and wanted to spend big. This left them with no money to buy food. Satan said he still had a little money and got free meals from his part-time job, but Alciel didn't want to eat burgers and fries every day. He said that would cause them to die before they could return to the demon realm. Satan didn't want to listen to his subordinates' complaints, so he quickly grabbed his bike and went to work. While waiting at a red light, he saw Emmy caught in the rain, so he gave her his umbrella before riding to work. Because it was an important campaign week, he was very determined to set a record for sales. When selling, Satan always invited customers to buy more, because he believed that building up from small things was necessary to restore his status as the demon lord. The young man was also thoughtful enough to warm up baby food for customers' children. Satan worked so professionally that his coworker Chiho admired him. He said that when you're free, you should actively serve customers as it would bring long-term benefits. At this moment, Alciel sighed because previously he and the demon lord had both been unemployed. Satan realized their main goal was to return to MgRonald. So he said he would go to work to earn money, while Alciel would find a way to restore their magic so they could rule this world. However, the demon lord had sold himself to capitalism, which greatly disappointed Alciel. The young man was even more helpless when he couldn't find any information about magic power. At the same time, Chiho was troubled because she had spilled potatoes on the floor 6 times in 1 month. Suddenly, their manager Kisaki came and said they had to work at full capacity to compete for first place in the campaign. She reminded Chiho to handle the potatoes carefully. A while later, a large number of customers came in, so Satan reminded Chiho to smile at them. He was about to add cheese to the potatoes when he realized they hadn't been fried because the machine was broken. The young man was thinking about whether to use magic to fix the machine and win first place, but then he remembered that Alciel had advised him to only use it in emergencies. The young man was confused, but Kisaki suddenly appeared and called him over to talk. This made him worry that his use of magic power had been discovered. But she actually announced that he had been promoted to an A-rank employee. That evening, the young man ran home joyfully. When he stopped at a red light, he met Emmy again. She knew Satan had used magic and questioned why he was working at the store. Hearing this, Satan realized she was the hero from their past life. Going back to when the Demon Lord and Alciel escaped through the portal, the hero had also followed to chase and completely eliminate them. Currently, the Demon Lord was very surprised to see Emmy, and she said she had come to destroy him. The young man wanted to negotiate, but she immediately took out her weapon to threaten him. In the tense moment, Satan started commenting on the price of her knife, saying it was from a dollar store. He didn't see Emmy's holy sword, so he thought she had lost her holy magic. Emmy guessed that Satan was in the same situation because she sensed that his magic power was very weak. With those words, Emmy immediately rushed toward him. At the same time, Alciel was startled and went to turn off a boiling pot of water. He found it strange that the Demon Lord hadn't returned home yet. Emmy and Satan had been taken to the police station for fighting in the street. The police officer said Emmy couldn't use a knife to attack her boyfriend, which made her angry, and she denied it. But he didn't believe her and advised her to calm down and resolve the issue. When leaving, Emmy said she would let Satan go this time, but next time she would definitely not spare him. Satan couldn't believe the hero would say such words. Then he asked for the umbrella back that Emmy had borrowed in the morning, but she said she had thrown it away and warned Satan to be careful when walking at night. Emmy's job in this world was as a customer service representative. Her friend Rika invited Emmy to eat at MgRonald's restaurant, but she refused because the Demon Lord worked there. After work, Emmy went to the store to buy some things. In the evening, she ate alone and watched TV, which made her uncomfortable and made her want to find trouble with Satan. While the Demon Lord and Alciel were having dinner, the doorbell suddenly rang. Alciel was very afraid and locked the door when he found out it was the hero. Satan said they had just met yesterday and advised his subordinate not to worry because Emmy couldn't use holy magic. Then Satan led Emmy into the house. She immediately complained that the place was as small as a rat hole and smelly. Satan said he focused on practicality rather than looks, and Emmy criticized their simple meal. So Satan boasted that when his subordinate cooked, no one dared to claim first place. Emmy shared that her chief minister should have come with her, but the portal closed too quickly, so only she managed to fly in. Satan said Alciel would stay here to begin the conquest of Japan. Emmy scorned him for only being good at boasting, so Satan said he was gradually trying to become a regular employee. Next, he would save money and build his status to recruit many people to serve him. And then Satan would attack isekai'd once more. The young man scorned Emmy for not being able to understand his noble will. Emmy said that with the remaining power she had, she still had the ability to destroy Satan, but as long as she couldn't find a way to return, she would spare his life. When leaving, she also mocked his name as being plain. The next day, Rika invited Emmy to eat, but she refused, making her friend think Emmy already had a boyfriend. After work, she went to Satan's house to monitor them, but to her surprise, they only went to the supermarket to buy things. Rika invited Emmy to eat again, and she still refused. That evening, Emmy continued to follow Satan and followed the young man to the hot springs. Rika invited Emmy to eat again, and her answer remained the same. Emmy hid in the bushes at the main character's house to eavesdrop, but the two young men were just talking nonsense, which made her want to leave. Alciel said that instead of eating cucumber with honey, Satan should eat melon, but the young man changed the subject, saying there was an earthquake to avoid the issue. When Emmy finished work, she went to Satan's part-time job to arrange a meeting with him at the intersection from the other day, but Satan pretended not to know Emmy and quickly gave her a cake and left. Chiho thought she was Satan's friend and was very jealous. Before Chiho left, she mentioned yesterday's earthquake. Satan said his roommate didn't notice it had happened, and she said the earthquake had made books and CDs fall to the floor. Satan was surprised because yesterday's earthquake wasn't strong. Suddenly, she shouted and asked if the main character's roommate was his girlfriend. Satan said it was his younger brother, which reassured her. When Satan came to meet Emmy, she immediately asked if he intended to live here forever. Because in the past few days, Emmy saw that he didn't do anything bad and even lived very simply while also being trusted by the store owner for his excellent coping skills. Emmy had ignored what Satan said before. But thinking about it, if the young man continued to live here, she wouldn't need to spend effort destroying him anymore. But with a cunning face, he said he would still return to conquer Ente Isla. Suddenly, the bicycle tire went flat, making the young man cry out. Emmy said it could be fixed, which made him very happy. but suddenly bullets flew toward them, so Satan quickly pushed her to the ground. Emmy didn't let him touch her, so Satan said it wasn't the time to argue. When it was Emmy's turn to help Satan dodge bullets, he immediately asked her to get off him. Satan guessed there were still many people at the station, so they immediately ran there. Satan realized they were magic bullets, so he guessed that person had very powerful strength and knew exactly who he and Emmy were. Satan blamed her for choosing an inappropriate time. But the young man only finished work late at night, and in the afternoon she was busy working. Satan didn't want to cycle anymore and walked home. A while later he met Emmy again and thought she had come to steal, but she actually wanted to stay overnight because she had lost her wallet. Alciel saw Emmy and blamed the demon lord for daring to stay with the hero all night. So Satan explained they had just been attacked by magic bullets, and while fleeing, Emmy had lost her wallet. Because she lived quite far from this place, he had to let her stay here. Alciel acted superior since he was the head of the household. Then Satan threw Emmy a blanket to cover herself and generously gave her 1,000 yen to take the train home tomorrow. Alciel said it was a large amount of money from their depleted budget. So Emmy promised she would leave early tomorrow. At midnight, Satan received a message from Chiho about the earthquake that would still happen, so she didn't know what to do. When the two young men woke up, they saw a lunchbox made by Emmy. While eating, Alciel suddenly saw the key on the floor. So Satan thought Emmy had used it to open the door and go outside. Then she locked it and threw the key in here. Alciel admired her handling of the situation, saying that if it were him, he would have taken the key home. While taking a bath, Emmy recalled last night's experience and felt very humiliated. Then she heard the TV news about the shooting and saw that Satan was also there but didn't care. At this time, Chiho remembered sending a message about the earthquake to Satan last night. She wanted to meet him to discuss it, so she told her mother she would take the afternoon off work. Her mother reminded Chiho to be careful because times were chaotic. Today, Emmy was invited by Rika to have lunch again, but she had to refuse because she had lost her wallet. And besides, she needed to go to the bank to do some procedures at noon. Suddenly, someone called Emmy saying he knew about the hero and the demon lord and also had a plan to destroy them. That person was surprised that the two were on the same side, so Emmy said it was out of necessity. He said the fact that the demon lord and she came to another world was the wish of isekai'd. Hearing this, Emmy immediately stood up, but she tried to stay calm and sensed that he was a demon. Emmy didn't know who that person was because besides Alciel, the four generals were no more. Emmy guessed the opponent mentioned isekai'd to shake her. However, she wasn't manipulated psychologically, so he hung up. Just as Emmy was about to go eat, she received a call from the police station. When she arrived, she was very angry. While Satan was praising the police officers for being VIPs because they had found his warhorse, Emmy came down and immediately scolded the two young men for daring to call her here to bail them out. Satan didn't want to bother the landlady, and coincidentally, Emmy had stayed at his house yesterday, so she had to repay the favor. Alciel said Emmy didn't act like a hero at all, so she scolded Alciel for buying things without a plan and not being worthy of being the demon lord's strategic general. The young man heard this and became depressed. When they went outside, Emmy said they were being targeted by a mysterious person, so she warned Satan not to die before she could destroy him. With those words, she left, and he also had to go meet Chiho. When the girl returned home, she put on a pretty dress to go meet the person she liked. Alciel saw it wasn't time for the appointment yet, so he took the demon lord shopping. After trying on many outfits, Alciel finally decided on a suitable one for Satan. The young man said he had prepared a secret fund for important occasions. Satan said they were just going for tea and conversation. But Alciel knew girls wouldn't discuss important matters with ordinary friends. If Chiho told Satan, it showed she had feelings for him. So Alciel didn't want the demon lord to wear shabby clothes on a date. In the afternoon, Chiho came to meet Satan and was complimented on her haircut. She was surprised because Satan wasn't wearing his usual clothes, so she thought he looked very handsome today. Satan explained that his brother wouldn't let him wear those clothes on a date. As soon as Chiho heard the word date, she was extremely happy and wanted to go to a cafe and promised to treat him. But Satan said he still had enough money to treat her. And Chiho wanted to hold hands, so Satan agreed because that way they wouldn't lose each other. Emmy was walking when she happened to see Alciel acting suspiciously, and she also saw the demon lord smiling with a girl, so she made Alciel tell her the whole story. After hearing it, she was very curious about why they had to date. Alciel said Chiho had fallen for Satan, which made Emmy wonder why she liked that random demon lord. Emmy noticed that Chiho's soul was big and round, which made her self-conscious, and say that a flat screen like herself would be easier to move during battle. Alciel thought she was on drugs. Emmy was also curious about Chiho's earthquake, so she went there to eavesdrop. At this moment, Chiho was telling Satan that since she started working at the store, she frequently had ringing in her ears. At first, Chiho thought it was because she wasn't used to the work, but at night she heard someone saying that the other world had an incident and soon there would be a big explosion. Although that person spoke a very strange language, Chiho could understand it. Whenever a natural phenomenon occurred, she always thought of earthquakes. Satan realized this was a technique for exchanging consciousness and perspectives between people in different worlds. To use it, one must use a target detection technique. When sonar is fired, it will create a magic explosion and many different phenomena will appear. In this case, it might have been converted into earthquakes. The explosions occurring nearby proved that sonar was targeting Satan and Emmy. When he saw Emmy and Alciel coming, he deliberately spoke loudly about Chiho's ear ringing not being a problem and advised Chiho to pay attention to the explosion, which made her feel much more reassured. Satan was even proud because he made Emmy think he was a trustworthy senior, not a playboy trying to seduce an innocent girl. When Chiho was about to say something, Emmy suddenly appeared and advised her not to trust Satan because he was a sly fox. Chiho immediately scolded Emmy for having a venomous tongue and asked who she was. So Emmy said she was the main character's enemy. The young man advised Emmy and Chiho not to argue, but both ignored him. Chiho thought she was Satan's ex-girlfriend, which made her so angry she couldn't speak. Chiho took the opportunity to say Amy had no right to prevent her from approaching Satan. Despite Emmy's denial, Chiho still didn't believe her, so both of them argued, neither willing to back down. Suddenly an earthquake occurred again, causing furniture and houses to collapse. When Chiho woke up, Emmy said they were buried down here and had been separated from Satan's group. She believed the young man was still alive and reconciled with Chiho, saying she had no relationship with Satan. She also knew Chiho liked him, which made her very embarrassed. Chiho wanted to know what Emmy thought about Satan because they seemed quite close. However, she hated the young man and warned Chiho that rushing headlong into a relationship with Satan would be very painful. With those words, she had made Chiho fall asleep and called Satan out. At this moment, the young man had returned to his demon lord form, tall with a six-pack. Seeing this, Emmy wanted to gather the remaining holy magic to create a holy sword to finish off the demon lord. Unexpectedly, he asked her to protect Chiho so that he could help everyone get out of here. This shocked Emmy, as a great demon lord was going to rescue humans. A while later, the police and rescue team arrived, and they were very surprised that no one was injured. Emmy remembered that when she was little, she used to bring food to her father and an uncle who came by and complimented the food, so she gave him a portion to eat. He said that the eastern continent had been overthrown by the demon lord and the west was also in danger. But Rika said that place was protected by the great divine and the crown prince, so there was no need to worry. However, the uncle still believed they couldn't defeat Lucifer. Emmy was very worried, so she said the priest's prayer would protect them, and she spoke loudly for the uncle to hear that her father was always right. The next day, Emmy was very happy to see the priest coming to her house. But her dad sadly said they came to take Emmy away because she was the daughter of an angel and the only one who could defeat the demon lord. Although he loved his daughter very much, he had to let her leave. A few days later, the village was burned down by Lucifer's army. The priest advised Emmy to be strong because she would inherit the power of her mother, who was a great angel. He said the holy sword could only be controlled by a child of an angel and a human. So she asked the priest to teach her how to use the sword to defeat the demon lord. Satan came to call Emmy because she seemed soulless, and Emmy was surprised that the young man had returned to his human form. When he saw that Chiho was still safe, Satan was very pleased. The police officer recognized her as Inspector Sasaki's daughter. Satan remembered that he had used magic on him. So, he promised to keep today's incident a secret because he saw that Chiho didn't want her father to know. He also didn't want to get into trouble, so he said goodbye and left. Satan said the magic he used on the officer had inadvertently affected Chiho, which is why she could hear his voice. The young man wanted to go home to eat, sleep, and rest because the enemy's attack had failed. He said the earthquake was arranged by someone else, and that person was also nearby. Emmy said they couldn't replenish magic power and magical equipment, so how could that person unleash such overwhelming power? Suddenly, Rika called Emmy, so she went to her. Alciel also hurriedly ran to apologize to the demon lord for not recognizing the enemy's presence. Satan didn't blame Alciel, which moved the young man to tears. Rika had invited Emmy to her house and cooked dinner for her friend. While Alciel was begging the demon lord to punish him, two police officers wanted to talk to them. Emmy finished eating and heard her talking to her mother in a regional dialect. Rika said her hometown was in Kobe, and it was very troublesome there. When asked by Emmy, she said she was very scared when the earthquake happened, so whenever someone asked about her hometown, Rika didn't want to answer. Emmy also had a violent past that was difficult to tell anyone about. Suddenly, Rika hugged Emmy deeply because she hadn't carelessly asked about her hometown. Rika saw that there were many people who did bad things during the chaos, but there were also good people who always tried their best to save others. In general, humans also have aspects similar to angels and demons. On the other side, the police officer warned Satan and Alciel to be careful because there had been many robberies recently. Rika watched the news and also saw them mentioning that issue. So she was quite jealous because Emmy had Satan to protect her, but she said there was no relationship between them. While taking a bath, Emmy felt a warmth from her heart which made her very curious about why the demon lord chose to save humans at that time. The next day she went to Satan's house and paid him back. Then she learned that last night Alciel had been extremely traumatized because he couldn't do anything when the demon lord was in danger. So he had been scratching all night and was now sleeping soundly. Satan asked if Emmy was okay because she had also used a lot of energy to make Chiho sleep. The woman boldly said it was nothing. So Satan promptly showed her out. He was about to remind her to be careful with her clogs, but it was too late because Emmy had already fallen flat on her face. Alciel heard the loud noise and woke up thinking enemies were ambushing them. Because Emmy was injured, Satan told his subordinate to go buy a bandage for her. He was about to help Emmy disinfect the wound, but she rejected his help and wanted to do it herself. Seeing her in pain, he asked how she was doing, only to have her throw the hydrogen peroxide bottle at his face and scold him harshly. She demanded that he be as cruel as a true demon lord, not someone who was valued at work and flirted with pretty girls. Satan said he had never seen a hero fall down the stairs, cry loudly, and asked the demon lord to treat her wounds. So Emmy questioned Satan about his cruelty in burning down her homeland and ordering demons to do countless bad things, so she swore she would never forgive him. Satan apologized to her because before that he didn't understand humans well. Suddenly Chiho came there and saw the two of them together, misunderstood, and left immediately. The landlord even judged Satan's love story as having high cholesterol levels. Miki thought Emmy was Satan's girlfriend, so she immediately criticized him strongly because the landlady planned to renovate the boarding house. She asked the main character to sign a confirmation and mentioned that Chiho had run toward the station. When the earthquake occurred, she immediately said he had to take full responsibility because Chiho had been hit by sonar and received the source of power, so she advised him to hurry there before it was too late. At this moment, two subordinates of the church were crossing through a portal. One sensed artificial magic power with an extremely large scale on the other side, so he thought there was a high possibility they would have a fierce battle. At this time, Chiho was suffering when she saw the person she liked with another girl. Suddenly, a purple-haired guy said he would realize Chiho's desperation with the demon lord and the hero. When a man touched that person, he was immediately flung away. This guy even grew wings and decided to start the hunt to surpass the demon lord. Satan's group saw the explosion happen, so they immediately went there and were very surprised to see Lucifer there. While crossing through the portal to Earth, the white-haired one had vomited all over because of motion sickness. Emmy couldn't believe Lucifer was still alive because her holy sword had stabbed his chest. But Satan knew he had been helped by Olba from the church. When Emmy flew through the portal, he had secretly followed behind. Olba took off his hat and greeted Emmy because he didn't want her to expand her authority after defeating the demon lord. He had conspired to eliminate Emmy to maintain power. Satan knew he had promised to take Lucifer back to heaven as motivation to get the young man to join. These cheap scenarios were too predictable for him, and he thought B-grade movies were much more interesting. Alciel immediately got angry because the demon lord dared to waste money to watch movies to relieve stress. Alciel wanted to go out but had to restrain himself. Yet Satan dared to sneak out alone so his budget would be cut. At this moment, Lucifer gave Alciel a fatal blow. Before the young man fainted, he didn't forget to remind Satan to choose discount days to watch movies. Then Lucifer flew into the sky and used magic to attack them. Although Satan promptly defended, he still had to run away with Emmy. He knew Lucifer had caused the recent robberies to absorb people's negative emotions and increase magic power. In fact, Satan had realized this since being trapped in the rubble because people's fear had given him enough magic power to return to his original form. Lucifer said if Satan submerged this world, he would have enough magic power to return to Ente Isla. However, the demon lord didn't want to cause trouble for people, so he wouldn't take magic power that way. Lucifer scolded the demon lord for being naive, and decided to absorb Chiho's despair to attack them. Satan unfortunately got hit by magic bullets and even more. Unluckily, the young man was taken down on the spot by Olba, who gave him a sucker punch. When he was about to finish off both of them, Satan used his remaining strength to teleport Emmy away. Then they both fell in front of the station, and were unfortunately found by Lucifer. He surprisingly shot through the main character's chest. Lucifer laughed triumphantly because he had defeated the demon lord, so he let Chiho fall freely. Emmy immediately rushed to catch her and was also injured in the leg. Lucifer began to use magic to make the buildings collapse onto Emmy, but it had stopped because the Demon Lord had returned and was more powerful than before. Chiho dreamily woke up and saw the Demon Lord's form. Emmy had known the reason Satan came here was to absorb people's despair. Satan immediately told Emmy to do something because his magic power was decreasing. At first the woman proudly refused, but a second later she agreed and created a shield to protect Chiho. Emmy immediately summoned power and her holy sword, which even impressed Satan. So she threatened that after eliminating them, she would also make the Demon Lord vanish. Satan immediately made everyone faint and created a magic barrier so both sides could fight freely. When Lucifer attacked, Emmy immediately deflected the attack into Satan's face. Then she immediately charged to solo with Lucifer and was kicked away by him. One of Lucifer's feathers exploded where she was, which made him extremely satisfied. However, Emmy had been saved by Alciel. Although the young man didn't want to cooperate with the hero, he had sworn that he would always be loyal to the Demon Lord. So from now on, Lucifer would be Alciel's enemy. The young man said he had recovered magic power early but was busy going home to get his cloak to wear it and look cool. Olba intended to shoot him from behind but was stopped by Emmy. Lucifer scolded Olba for being incompetent and useless and wanted him to fight properly. Olba was afraid that if they fought with all their strength, they wouldn't have enough holy artifacts to return. Lucifer said it was better than losing their lives here, so the old man had to charge up to fight. Chiho asked Satan if this wasn't filming a movie, which made the young man not know what to say. Alciel immediately attacked them in his place, but was blasted away by Alciel. This made the Demon Lord relieved as he lowered the buildings to the ground. The young man wanted to resolve this quickly to go show Chiho how to maintain the soft-serve ice cream machine. The Demon Lord immediately flew up and made Olba vanish. Lucifer couldn't even attack before he was terrified by the Demon Lord's killing intent. Emmy said he should let them face punishment for daring to destroy the city. Satan questioned Lucifer, saying if he made him late for work he would die with him. With those words, the Demon Lord created a fierce attack that distorted Lucifer's facial features. After that, Chiho asked who they were. So Satan said he was the Demon Lord from another world. The young man thought Chiho wouldn't believe it, but surprisingly she did. Emmy said she was both human and angel, which made Chiho surprised that demons and angels existed. Emmy even mocked the Demon Lord for working part-time at a fast food restaurant. So he also rebutted and asked why she didn't attack him if she had so much power. Because Emmy was afraid he was hiding his skills, she didn't dare use her abilities, and she also needed to conserve power to return home. Emmy also emphasized that they had no relationship so Chiho could be at ease. She thought he had regained his magic power and would return to Entei, but there were many shifts this month so the young man had to stay. Emmy asked Lucifer how he knew her phone number, so he had to return Emmy's lost wallet. Suddenly, two of Emmy's subordinates appeared and rushed to her. They immediately recognized these three as the Demon Lord and his subordinates. Emeralda said after Emmy left, the entire church was in chaos. Previously, Satan had told them to go to his castle first. When they arrived, everyone was shocked because the castle was as small as a rat hole. Meanwhile, the Demon Lord had decided to use magic to restore the rubble. With those words, Satan had returned this place to its original appearance. At Satan's house, Emeralda said to find Emmy they had fired sonar many times, which made Chiho realize the voice she heard was his. It turned out that Emeralda had previously set the signal confirmation location to be someone who always thought about the Demon Lord. Suddenly the young man returned, which made Chiho scream, scaring the young man as well. The next day, Emeralda advised Emmy to return to the church. He and Albert were quite impressed that the Demon Lord had restored the city and made people not remember what happened yesterday. During working hours, Chiho was worried that Satan would return to Entei, but he couldn't go because he had lost too much power. When the young man mentioned erasing uncomfortable memories for Chiho, she was extremely angry and scolded him as an idiot. On the occasion of his promotion, Satan went out for a lavish meal. The young man appeared very intimidating, requiring Alciel to remind him because he was disturbing the people around. Satan said the pork intestines were too delicious. So Alciel advised him to eat vegetables to balance his nutrition. The young man wanted to buy food to take home for Lucifer, but Alciel said it wasn't necessary because that guy was overspending. So Alciel really wanted Satan to deal with him. At the church, someone reported that they had lost track of Olba and that Emmy and the Demon Lord were living in another world. The superior was surprised because Olba had said the Demon Lord had vanished after the battle at the castle. The blue-haired one said Albert had returned to the Holy Empire of Central, causing the news that Emmy was still alive and Olba had left the faith to spread. If the court sorcerer wanted to announce that Emmy was still alive, it would create a contradiction because they had previously said she was dead. So the blue-haired one wanted to investigate whether Olba had left the faith and to eliminate Emmy's group. But the chief minister thought this was nonsense. Satan had just returned home when he was complained to by Lucifer for being too hungry when he saw that he had bought a bag of pork for himself. The young man immediately grumbled. Alciel said they had bought a computer and connected to the internet for Lucifer, so don't ask for more when you already have a lot. Seeing that the young man was still not satisfied, Alciel told him to collect information related to magic power, and depending on the results he would reward him with a large-sized pork rice and a special serving. Seeing that Satan didn't believe in his skills, Lucifer had to prove it to him by calling Emmy to boast that his brother had the talent to hack websites because they were about to buy installment purchases through credit cards. The fiery woman was immediately angry, so they had to hang up abruptly. The next day, Rika complimented Satan for being promoted to manager in less than a year of working, and she assessed that he had the ability to influence people. Suddenly, Emmy came to have a quiet conversation with Satan because he dared to call while she was working. Lucifer was troubled because he couldn't play games, when suddenly the young man was attracted by a website. At this time, Alciel read information that Turkey might be the residence of low-level demons. He wanted to go there to replenish magic power, but the travel expenses seemed a bit difficult. When entering the house, Alciel saw a letter sent by the landlady. When Satan finished work, Emmy asked why Lucifer was at his house. Satan said after the previous incident, Olba had been imprisoned, so he didn't dare go out. Emmy was surprised that the tiny house could also accommodate 3 thugs. Satan had to accept this because he couldn't return to Ente Isla. So Emmy boasted that she could return there anytime, but to keep an eye on the demon lord, she still had to stay here. When he returned home, he was shocked to see Lucifer collapsed on the floor. Alciel advised Satan not to look at the letter and continued to vomit. In the evening, the young man said the landlady had sent them a swimsuit photo which Lucifer couldn't accept, making Satan mock him for being a demon but afraid of a picture. But when he saw it, Satan became silent and changed the subject to something else. Lucifer immediately showed both of them a place related to demons. It was said that at night one could hear the whispers of stones along with savage smiles. A while later, Satan and Alciel went there, but couldn't sense anything. Suddenly, Chiho called both of them and told her friend that they were living together, which made her as a Fujoshi really like this. When at work, Satan asked Chiho about one of the 7 mysteries at her school. Chiho said people heard the groans of monsters or saw reflections of demons in the windows. Satan thought it was related to Ente Isla, so he wanted to investigate. That evening, Chiho took both of them to the sealed classroom. Before Chiho was born, a student had gone missing there, so it was no longer used. Satan saw that Chiho was happy, so she said it was her honor to help Satan. Satan asked about the other mysteries, so Chiho said the northern staircase had a different number of steps when going up and down. At 3:00 a.m., the statue in the art room would open its eyes. In the National Language Dictionary, only the word curse was marked in red, and the piano in the music room occasionally rang out. As for the 7th one, no one knew, because if they knew, they would receive a call and their soul would be taken away. Satan found this absurd, but he was startled when the phone rang. Lucifer suspected that the sealed place had a portal that had been opened, causing the magnetic field there to be unstable. This made the portal easier to open, so there was a possibility that the missing student had been swallowed by it. Perhaps if they came at the right time, when the portal opened, they could replenish magic power. Satan heard a strange sound and thought it was a magical beast. Alciel, being spiritual, took out a charm to deal with it, but unexpectedly the person who appeared was Emmy. After that, she knew they were looking for magic power from the sealed classroom. Satan questioned why she had broken in, so the woman, while changing her slippers, said she couldn't let them replenish magic power. But when she turned around, she didn't see the group anywhere. Satan didn't want to go with Emmy, so he escaped. But it wasn't long before she caught up with him, so he quickly hid in a room. Emmy saw a mannequin and thought it was a monster, so she cut it into 100 pieces. Satan scolded her for being destructive and demanded she fix it. The stubborn woman blamed them and forced Satan to use magic to restore it. They were busy arguing and didn't know that their every move was being watched by someone. After that, Satan told Emmy to put away her holy sword, but she refused. When they arrived, Alciel realized someone had been there because the ceiling wood was loose. The group went inside and saw a gaming console. Suddenly, Lucifer called to say if they saw a gaming console to bring it back for him. Satan realized he and Olba had opened a portal here. The young man immediately confessed that he had stayed with him, and unfortunately forgot the game console. He realized Lucifer had tricked him into coming here to bring this back. He immediately denied it and even demanded the young man buy food for him. Satan was very upset about being led by the nose by his subordinate, which made Alciel really want to sell him to get money to buy daily necessities. The next day, Satan accidentally dropped the landlady's photo. When he picked it up to look, he wanted to reincarnate immediately. That evening, the dwarf Lucifer demanded Alciel return the game console, but the young man only allowed him to play for 1 hour a day. When Satan had just returned home, he saw a girl falling down the stairs. So he rushed to catch her. The next day, while both were having breakfast, they heard the doorbell. They thought it was the girl from yesterday, so they went to open the door. She introduced herself as Suzuno and said she was a new neighbor. Since Satan had helped her last night, she gave him a box of noodles as thanks. When the young man picked it up, it was so heavy he could barely carry it. Alciel introduced himself, but the landlord had already told her about them, adding that if she had any trouble, she should look for them. Suzuno was about to show them the photo from the landlady's letter, but Alciel immediately stopped her. Suddenly she noticed there was another person in the house, so Satan said he was introverted and liked to hide, which made the young man angry and denied this. After finishing, Suzuno said goodbye and left. At this time, Emi received a holy artifact from Emerata, who had modified it to prevent damage when transferred to Japan. When Emi drank it, she could replenish magical power, but she could only drink it twice a day in the morning and evening. After that, Emi continued to follow Satan despite the scorching sun. Suddenly, she saw Lucifer with a girl. Worried that the girl might be a demon, Emi secretly went up to observe them. Suzuno was teaching Lucifer how to cook udon noodles to repay Alciel, who had to work hard to cook for him every day. He wanted Suzuno to talk some sense into Lucifer, because they had talked until their throats were sore, but the young man wouldn't listen. So she asked Lucifer to grate ginger. Unfortunately, it was all gone. So Suzuno went home to get some. Emi heard this and quickly ran away, but ended up falling down the stairs again. Fortunately, Satan caught her, but she hit him and made him unconscious. After that, Suzuno apologized for suddenly opening the door and startling Emi. Satan mocked her, saying she was so careless but still worked as a hero. At this moment, Lucifer had picked up all of Emi's dropped items. He thought she was drinking an energy drink, so the woman immediately snatched it back. He said if Emi drank it, she would get heat stroke like Alciel, which surprised her quite a bit. Suzuno blamed herself, thinking if she had chosen a better dish, Alciel wouldn't have been like this, but the young man didn't blame Suzuno at all. She came to introduce herself to Emi and said she came from a distinguished family in a distant land, so she still hadn't adapted to life here. Emi had a habit of checking out other women. Then she politely greeted her. After eating, Satan complained about having too many things to learn, but he was quite proud that he was growing up like a human. This Sunday, Satan would become the shift manager of the store. The young man boasted that it was a position with high responsibility and much higher pay, but Emi didn't believe it at all. So Satan said one day he would climb to heights she couldn't imagine. Suzuno misunderstood that Emi and Satan were dating because they talked so comfortably. So Emi had to explain many times that they had no relationship, and she even hoped Satan would go sell salt soon. Emi thought Suzuno looked quite similar to Chiho, so she asked if she was targeting the Demon Lord, so Suzuno pulled her outside and asked how Emi knew. Emi was about to say that previously Chiho also liked Satan like her, but instead said it was because she felt so. At first, Emi thought Suzuno was a demon. However, for the past week she hadn't acted strangely and was even polite to her. So Emi advised Suzuno not to get close to Satan because he wasn't an easy person to deal with. Suzuno said she had a lot of experience in fighting. But since Emi had warned her, she would listen and ask for her further guidance. After that, she went inside and gave Suzuno her business card for easy contact. She also warned Satan that if he dared to do anything weird to Suzuno, she would beat him within an inch of his life. Then she went outside, said goodbye to Suzuno, and left. But the unstable staircase made Emi fall once more. In the afternoon, Satan was preparing to go to work when he saw Suzuno. He asked if Emi had said anything excessive to her, but Suzuno said no and gave him a bento box to eat. When he finished work, Emi was asked by Emerata about the effectiveness of the vitamin medicine. Although she had drunk it, she hadn't had a chance to test its effects. Emi said her relationship with Satan was still the same. Whenever they touched, there was a reaction. The other person teased Emi, saying she was like a sulking lover, which made Emi furious, because they were sworn enemies. Emerata hoped Emi wouldn't do anything to make them enemies, so Emi advised her not to worry because she was a hero, and she had sworn on her parents' honor that she would never do anything wrong. Emerata said no country had made any moves yet because the rumors hadn't been leaked out, but the church was looking for the truth about Olba's disappearance. So she warned Emi to be careful, because among them were impulsive ones who could cause trouble for Japan. At the same time, the boss came to announce that a new chicken shop would open tomorrow. Because she was busy, she would hand over the business to Satan. In case of emergencies, he was allowed to contact her. Otherwise, he had to solve problems himself to help him mature more. She asked if he wanted to eat subsidized meals at the shop, but today Satan had brought a bento box. So afterward, the young man went to the break room to eat. When Satan said this was given by a female neighbor, Chiho immediately grabbed him to ask 1,000 questions and wanted to see what was inside. Satan opened it, and Chiho had an ominous premonition. However, she still wanted to see the part below and was extremely shocked to see the lunchbox had a heart shape. That evening, just as Emmy stepped out of the department store, a masked person rushed toward her. Emmy immediately took out her holy sword, slashed the opponent away, and told the staff to call the police quickly. Then, she went outside to combat the masked person. However, the attacker's strikes could nullify her holy sword, so he pressed the advantage to finish Emmy off. But the security guard arrived just in time to save her. He had contacted the police, and they required Emmy to stay to give a statement. Emmy felt the vitamin medicine was effective because her holy sword had more power than before. But she was still puzzled about what the enemy's purple light was that could counter her holy sword and magical equipment. Suddenly, the police officer returned her bag, and coincidentally, Chiho called and told her about Satan receiving a heart-shaped lunchbox from a girl. So they both went to Satan's house to check out the rival, because Chiho was afraid she might be an assassin from Isla who had poisoned Satan's food, which would be a disaster. When they saw Suzuno come out to open the door, Chiho felt like she was going to die. After that, she learned that because Alciel was sick, Suzuno had come over to cook for them. Chiho praised her profusely and took the opportunity to ask for some cooking tips. Satan was afraid they didn't have enough bowls and chopsticks for the guests, but Chiho said she had brought some. When the food was cooked, Lucifer was given an old paper box to eat from. He immediately threw a tantrum for being treated worse than Emmy, so Satan said they had to prioritize the guests. Suzuno said she had utilized the leftover ingredients to save money until she found a job that could support her daily expenses. Hearing this, Satan invited her to work at his place, which shocked everyone. He said, with Chiho there, Suzuno wouldn't feel too much pressure. Lucifer was speechless because the Demon Lord didn't understand women's psychology, and Chiho was no longer disappointed but completely desperate. Emmy advised Suzuno not to decide hastily because working with acquaintances had both advantages and disadvantages, so Suzuno said she would think about it more carefully. Alciel was curious when he saw she always wore traditional Japanese clothing, so Suzuno said there were no Western-style outfits in her closet, which made everyone freeze for 5 seconds. Lucifer asked if she knew where to buy bags, but Emmy immediately snatched it back because she was afraid he would infect her with his gaming addiction. Even Chiho discriminated against Lucifer, which made the young man very dissatisfied. Chiho asked Emmy to take Suzuno shopping for clothes, and she was also willing to help. After that, Suzuno changed into a new traditional outfit and went out with Emmy. At this moment, Alciel reminded the Demon Lord to take Chiho home carefully. However, they had to walk because they weren't allowed to ride bicycles in the city. Satan wanted to know if Chiho's parents had any opinions about her coming to his house. But Chiho had given them the address of his house, so her parents had already given permission. Chiho offered to make a bento for Satan, and the young man agreed, which made her very happy. Satan asked if Chiho wasn't concerned about his identity, so she said she had learned about the good things he did through Emmy, and she really liked Satan. So even if he saw her as just a Rain sister, someone with unrequited love, it was okay. But Chiho warned the young man not to be foolish enough to make girls angry. Suddenly, Suzuno spoke up, saying she had heard all of Chiho's confession, which embarrassed her so much that she stole the main character's bicycle and ran away. Suzuno asked what he thought about receiving Chiho's feelings. Satan immediately said if her parents trusted him, he should also show some sincerity. After that, Suzuno went to the station to meet Emmy. However, this girl didn't know how to use a transit card, which made Emmy wonder how she had come here. Suzuno said she had used a portal and directly fallen here. Suddenly, both of them screamed because Emmy didn't know she was from Isla. And when Suzuno heard Emmy ask if she was targeting the Demon Lord, she thought Emmy already knew her identity, not realizing that Emmy was asking if she liked Satan. Suzuno mentioned the rumor that Emmy was on the same side as the Demon Lord, which made her go crazy, thinking the church was taking revenge on her. Emmy suspected the masked person at the store yesterday was Suzuno, but there were no wounds on her. Suzuno said she wasn't stupid enough to challenge Emmy and introduced herself as Crestia Bell, the head interrogator of the Inquisition. Because it was time for work, Emmy told Suzuno to go apply for immigration and tell her the details later. The girl was immediately angry because she didn't know how to use a transit card and wasn't familiar with escalators, so she fell flat on her face. Moreover, she was very curious about TVs. Emmy couldn't believe Suzuno was so provincial, so she asked what she had learned since coming here. Suzuno knew that traditional Japanese clothing was Japan's traditional costume, so she always watched period dramas that featured it. Emmy asked why Suzuno lived near the Demon Lord's house, so she said her purpose was to keep an eye on him. When Suzuno learned that Emi wasn't on the same side as the Demon Lord, she wanted to cooperate with her to defeat Satan and return to Ente Isla to reform the church because they intended to cover up Olba's unjust methods. Emi said she didn't agree, so Suzuno tried to persuade her to reclaim her rightful position and honor. Emi still refused because she couldn't trust someone who wanted to eliminate her and the Demon Lord and had collapsed the tunnel. Besides, defeating the Demon Lord was Emi's mission, so she hoped Suzuno wouldn't interfere. At the same time, she reminded her not to try anything because the Demon Lord would see through it immediately. Emi also took out several fashion magazines for Suzuno to learn from, and arranged to meet her again in the afternoon. At this time, Chiho was apologizing to the Demon Lord for taking his bicycle and running away, since the nearby restaurant opened his store had few customers. The boss said her colleague had been pushed to another place because they lost in the battle with competitors, so she ordered Satan to use any means to defeat Sentucky. A moment later, a blue-haired guy came looking for the shop owner, so Satan said she was out. This person knew exactly that he was an employee with many good qualities, then gave his business card to Satan, who realized this guy's name was Saru, and he was the owner of the Sentucky Fried Chicken shop. Suddenly he saw Chiho was very pretty, so he used flattering words to compliment her and immediately ordered a takeout portion. After that, Chiho was very upset because that guy wore too strong cologne and had greasy glasses, which made her really want to defeat his restaurant, so Satan said he had sent Alciel to gather information about the competitor. When Emi and Rika were working, they met Suzuno. She said she had sold an expensive ring to buy traditional Japanese clothing and train cards. Suzuno asked Emi to take her to the Demon Lord's workplace, which made Rika think she was going to confront a rival in love, so she decided to go with Suzuno to observe the drama. At this time, Alciel had gone to Sentucky to spy, while Chiho and the main character were very upset that the competitor's shop was extremely crowded with customers. Soon they arrived at Hatagaya because today was a festival. This place was quite crowded. Rika saw that the MgRonald's shop was too empty and not suitable for a love confrontation, while the Sentucky shop was quite busy, so Rika chose it as the battleground. After that, Rika wanted to hear details about Satan to resolve the fight. Emi was worried about how Suzuno would deal with her friend's misunderstanding. Then Rika told the two to order food and generously offered to treat them. Saru gave discount coupons and took the opportunity to hold Rika's hand, which scared her. Rika went to tell her friends about this and strongly criticized Saru's cologne smell and perversion. Rika really wanted to hear the dramatic love story of her two friends. So Suzuno said Satan was a kind neighbor, which confused Emi because just a moment ago this girl had been demanding to eliminate the Demon Lord. When Emi said Satan was her enemy, Rika judged her friend as not being honest. Emi said she advised Suzuno to stay away from the Demon Lord for a different reason, not because she was competing for his affection. Emi didn't want Rika to ship her with Satan and cursed him as a bad guy, which made Alciel extremely angry. On the other side, Satan was very worried because he had previously asked his subordinate to go survey the food at Sentucky. Alciel didn't want to give money to the competitor. So the Demon Lord explained that his purpose for going there was to investigate everything about them. Because this was an issue related to Satan's career, Alciel promised to investigate them with minimal cost, which deeply moved the Demon Lord. Suddenly, Chiho came to report that everyone had almost finished today's work. He saw the streets were very crowded, but the shop still had few customers, so he tried to find a way to solve it but couldn't think of anything. Everyone advised Satan not to be too discouraged, which restored the young man's spirit. He also encouraged everyone that the competitor was only temporarily at an advantage. But soon they would regain their number one position, so for now everyone should go clean the windows. Alciel argued with Emi when she asked him for a favor. Because she knew Alciel was investigating this restaurant, Emi promised to treat him to any dish he liked. Hearing this, Alciel immediately threw away his dignity and sat down at the table. To save costs, he was willing to sell his conscience cheaply. Rika thought Alciel was Emi's friend, so the two immediately denied it. He introduced himself as living with Satan. So Rika wanted to ask a few things about him. The young man immediately made up a story that he and Satan once ran a construction company called Mao, and Emi was an employee of a rival company. Rika asked her friend how old she was to have worked in that profession. Alciel said at that time Emi was just a temporary employee, which quite surprised Suzuno, so Emi said that guy was lying. Alciel said the business was very successful, but the scale was so small that the management had to directly command because Emi was very good. They often competed with each other. At that time, the economy was in crisis. So companies managed by newcomers like them were easy to fail. As a result, Emi won the bid, and the Mao company went bankrupt. So both had to drift to distant apartments, and destiny brought them back to meet Emi again. Perhaps she still cared about her old rival, so she often came to their place. If you fail, you start again. So in just 1 year of working 100 shifts, Satan had been promoted to shift manager while he stayed at home as the family man doing laundry and cooking. But the young man still cherished the determination to start a business again. Alciel said the Demon Lord hated Emmy very much, so things weren't as Rika imagined. So she was disappointed because she had overthought. Rika said her family also ran a small factory, and everyone helped each other when in danger, so she told Alciel to be prouder because he was a solid support for Satan. The young man smiled warmly, which Rika really liked because she still wanted to meet Satan. She decided to go with Alciel to his house to meet him. Before leaving, the young man ordered a few more dishes to take away and left Emmy behind to pay. Going outside first, Saru saw Emmy was sad, so he acted like a poetic boy and advised her all sorts of things, saying men often take advantage when women are vulnerable, which Emmy didn't understand at all. After that, Alciel told the Demon Lord that the competitor's shop gave discount codes. The chicken could be eaten with the bones and they used organic coffee. Being praised by Satan, the young man demanded a reward of a potato combo and 2 extra large tuna portions. Satan said if Lucifer complained about these dishes, he could punch the young man without missing a single hit. Alciel wished the Demon Lord good luck with those 3 girls and left first. Rika saw Satan working professionally and was quite jealous because around Emmy were many talented people, including herself. At this moment, Satan came to ask the 3 people to order, but Emmy asked the young man to bring coffee and apple pie here, which quite upset him. Moreover, he was criticized by Rika for not being attractive, which made the young man explode with emotion and scold her. Rika threatened to report Satan's attitude, but he didn't care and asked who she was. Rika said she was Emmy's colleague. She had heard Alciel and Emmy talk about him, but still wanted to come here to verify. The young man was frustrated because customers didn't come, but the troublemaker Emmy did. Chiho advised him not to say that and brought food to Emmy. Also friendly greeted Rika and hoped for her help. Rika thought Chiho was too cute and hugged her to her chest, almost making her unable to breathe. After that, Rika asked Satan what he would do to deal with the competitor, because she saw that he wasn't as dumb as he looked on the outside. So Satan ignited his inspiration and decided to use flyers for advertising. But no one cared. The young man switched to showing them that the food on their side could also be eaten with bones. Everyone said hamburgers don't have bones, so they thought Chiho was mentally deficient and took turns taking pictures of her. Satan wanted to allow people to freely use the bathroom, but that method had no benefit at all. This made the 3 girls think he had no future anymore. A while later, someone came to deliver 2 bamboo trees to Satan, so everyone displayed their talent in decorating papers on the trees. So when customers wrote prayers, they would be given a free drink. It was known that the bamboo trees were requested by Satan from Mr. Watanabe, whom Satan met when volunteering to clean the area periodically. Rika thought that idea was quite good, and even Emmy had to acknowledge this. After that, customers all rushed to check in with the bamboo trees, which made Rika surprised at how effective it was. And the advertising war god, aka the marketing king, and the employees were ready for the KPI battle tonight. Although yesterday was very busy with customers, Satan didn't rest on his laurels. Whenever he remembered Kisaki's words, he was always nervous. Suddenly, she said tomorrow, Satan had to go to Fushima Park, which made him panic because he had already met his sales target. Unexpectedly, Kisaki's friend just wanted to borrow Satan for a few days because they had just opened an amusement area and fair, so there would be many people coming. Chiho wanted to go along, but the boss said it wasn't necessary, which made her quite disappointed. In the evening, Alciel ate a lot of udon because it was about to expire. Lucifer said Fushima Park would open a new haunted house and also had a huge reptile exhibition with up to 300 species. The haunted house was rated scarier than mazes in other places. He saw that there were many fears there, which was favorable for increasing magic power. So Alciel wanted to go with the Demon Lord there. Lucifer asked for money to eat pizza, but Alciel didn't give it and forced the young man to eat the udon that was about to expire. At the same time, Emmy was invited by Chiho to Fushima Park. She even prepared a bunch of swimsuits to enjoy with the person she liked. Emmy was informed by Suzuno that tomorrow the Demon Lord would go to the park. However, she already knew this and would go there with Chiho. Emmy didn't think the park would have magic power, so Suzuno said she was naive and that she would also go to verify. The next day, Satan had transferred to the new workplace. The boss heard that he worked very well, so Satan promised to try to meet her expectations. Because today would be quite crowded with customers, she hoped everyone would help each other well. At this time, Rika had met Emmy and Suzuno. Since it was her first time at the park, she hoped to receive Chiho's guidance. After changing clothes, Emmy saw Chiho's bust and felt very insecure about her flat screen. She even praised their size, which made Chiho very proud and curious about what Satan thought. Suddenly they both saw Suzuno dressed like a man and were helplessly speechless.